I was born upon the prairie, where the wind blew free and there was nothing to break the light of the sun. The white man has the country which we loved. We only wish to wander on the prairie until we die. 10 bears.
South of the Cheyenne, the Guipago, or Kiowa Nation, lived on lands including parts of present-day Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. They were also being pushed onto reservations by treaties and the United States Army. But the message of Black Kettle's betrayal resounded across the plains.
The good Indian, he that listens to the white man, gets nothing. The independent Indian is the only one that is rewarded. Satanta, Kiowa.
To many, the only path open was armed resistance. A growing number of Kiowa rallied behind an uncompromising leader, Satanta.
A long time ago, this land belonged to our fathers. But when I go down to the rivers, I see camps of soldiers on its banks. These soldiers cut down my timber, kill my buffalo. And when I see that, my heart feels like bursting. Satanta, Kiowa.
Satanta was a deepening thorn in the War Department's side. In 1871, after leading a raid on a mule train in Texas, he was brought before General Sherman. Satanta defiantly accepted responsibility for the raid.
I led about 100 men to Texas to teach them to fight. This is our country. We have always lived in it. We were happy. Then you came. We have to protect ourselves. We have to save our country. We have to fight for what is ours.
Satanta was placed under arrest, shackled, and held in the crawl space below a Fort Sill barracks for 12 days. Finally, he was taken to Texas for trial. There, he was imprisoned. It would be 2 years before the Kiowa Nation was able to barter his release by surrendering their guns and horses. When Satanta returned to the reservation where his people were confined, he found that the money, food, and supplies promised by the government as payment for their lands had not come through. And the lifeblood of the nation, the buffalo, were fast disappearing.
Everything the Kiowas had came from the buffalo. Our teepees were made of buffalo hides. So were our clothes and moccasins. We ate buffalo meat. The buffalo were the life of the Kiowas.
The U.S. recognized that without the buffalo, the Plains nations could not survive and would have little choice but to remain on reservations and live off the meager government rations. White buffalo hunters with high-powered Sharps rifles were encouraged in, and the slaughter began.
Has the white man become a child that he should recklessly kill and not eat? When the Kiowa slay game, they do so that they may live and not starve. Satanta, Kiowa.
The slaughter proceeded at an astonishing pace. Thousands of animals were killed every day.
The buffalo hunters have done more to settle the vexed Indian question than the entire regular army. For the sake of lasting peace, let them kill, skin, and sell until the buffaloes are exterminated. General Phil Sheridan, U.S. Army.
In a desperate struggle for survival, the Southern Plains nations went to war to save the buffalo. In the summer of 1874, thousands of Indian people flooded off the reservations. And in that moment of freedom, Satanta and Ado-ete and others led an allied Indian force in an attack on a buffalo hunters' camp at Adobe Walls, Texas. But they were no match for the hunters with their powerful buffalo guns. Defeat was followed by massive military expeditions by the United States Army to force the Southern Plains nations back onto reservations. In the fall, Satanta and Ado-ete was forced to surrender and was returned to the penitentiary at Huntsville, Texas. Later, it was reported that he had committed suicide by leaping out of a window. The Kiowa believed he was murdered.
They killed Satanta. That's what I always thinking of the Kiowa people. They killed him. He didn't kill himself. He's too much of a man to do anything like that. He's too much of a chief to do. Chiefs don't do that.
By winter, all Kiowa bands had been forced back to the reservation. The following spring, the last of the Cheyenne surrendered, followed soon after by the last free Comanche. Determined to break the Southern Plains nations forever, the Army rounded up 10,000 Indian horses. Almost 1,000 were shot. The rest sold at auction. By 1890, the buffalo population of 50 million had been reduced to fewer than 1,000. The war to save the buffalo and a way of life had been lost.
Sometimes at evening I sit looking out. The sun sets, and dust steals over the water. In the shadows, I seem again to see our Indian village, with smoke curling upward from the lodges. And in the river's roar, I hear the yells of the warriors, the laughter of the little children as of old. It is but an old woman's dream. Again I see but shadows and hear only the roar of the river. And tears come into my eyes. Our Indian life, I know, is gone forever.